Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Rubecast. I'm here with my good friend, Jimmy Reed.
Hello.
How's it going, bro?
Very good.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here.
Bro. Did you hop on the 9?
Yes.
Did you hop on the 9?
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
I just showed up, man. I can't do the California accent.
What? We're trying to get our mics checked, Stuart.
Yeah, you get on the 10, and then you get on the 9, and then you get on the... I got to lean into the microphone.
lean in.
Sorry.
It's a dynamic microphone. You
Wow.
know.
That's
So,
very dynamic.
Let me give...
Okay.
Let me give the intro.
Okay.
And then you can add. So James is a retired Air Force
Master Sergeant.
Master Sergeant. How many years did you serve in the Air Force?
22 years.
22 years in the Air Force. And he is currently let's do the more important part. Married to Tracy for how many years?
Oh, you're going to get me in trouble. 38 years.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny when I go to the pharmacy to pick up Val's prescriptions, and if it's a woman pharmacist, I was like, "What's her birthday?" It's like they all have a code.
They do.
They all have a code, and they all subconsciously know when one of us have violated the remembering of dates.
And they have a word that it's the click of the tongue and the exhale. I just don't understand why you didn't call. I just don't understand why you can't remember the date.
My wife doesn't even do that. She just kind of hangs her head in despair. So 38 years married to Tracy. Awesome
Yes.
gal. Full-time pastor at Green Meadow Christian Reformed Church in beautiful Helena, Montana, the capital of our state.
Yes.
And before that, you were a worship pastor at a Calvary Chapel. Where was that?
Yes. I served in Calvary Chapel, Tucson, which I'm sure they don't remember me at this point. That was
They
a long
better.
time ago. And Calvary Chapel of Casa Grande, Arizona. Nobody says Casa Grande. They say Casa Grande. The only people who say Casa Grande are people from out of town.
Yeah, it's kind of like in Texas.
Yeah.
That's Amarillo. One time I was like, I had gone through Amarillo, and they're like, it's Amarillo.
Yeah, right.
What are you, a tourist?
Yeah,
But yeah, Casa Grande.
right.
Casa Grande.
That's how you say it, Casa Grande.
Casa Grande.
Right.
But you're originally from Florida. What was the town again?
I was from a tiny little spot in the road called Lake Alfred.
Lake Alfred.
So I tell people I'm from L.A. Lake Alfred.
What are you doing here?
From L.A.
We just had this. I was having band practice yesterday, and all the guys, I've got two 20-something-year-olds in the band, and then me and my friend Skylar. I'm 40, he's 39 anyway. But we all know the Californians. And it's,
What are you doing here?
it never gets old.
Stuart.
Yeah.
So I got on. So I went south out of Helena.
What would Californians call the highway from Helena to Townsend? Yeah.
What is it, 285?
So get on the 285, and then I hopped on.
This is my friend Jake Bradley reminded me yesterday. You have to say you hopped on the...
Right.
So I hopped on the 90,
Right.
headed over to Bozeman, and got off on the 7th.
Right.
No, they
Everything-
probably call it North 7th at that point.
Avenue, I guess they say avenues. I don't know.
But once you hit Mulholland, you've gone too far.
Right.
Anyway.
Billings is way off.
That's way too far.
It's far out.
If you're California sober, you might miss the exit.
Right.
And
so my daughter-in-law is from California. I showed her the clips, and she's like, "Oh, that's so." She died laughing. She was just like, "This is exactly right." So, oh wow,
That's better, huh?
yeah.
See,
What
then the
happened?
problem is you hear mine, and
Yeah.
then it's like extreme loud. So how do you prefer it? I'm still messing
I
with
like it.
You like this?
Yeah. Dude.
That way, well, you're a musician. So talk about that.
Yeah.
Because how long have you been playing? I mean, you're primarily a keyboard pianist.
Yes. Keyboards. We like to say keyboards because it doesn't sound as.
please.
Can I say it doesn't sound as
You could say that. You could totally say that.
Pianist sounds
So-
classical.
Yeah.
And so I started goofing around, and I don't know if anybody listening will even know what this is, but my mother had a chord organ. It was like maybe octave and a half, and it was brown, made out of plastic, and there were these little chord organs. You could buy them in like a dime store, if anybody remembers what that is, a drugstore. My mother bought this thing, and it came with a songbook, and so there were chords that you would push the buttons on the
cool.
left, and then you would play a melody on the right. And the idea was that you would teach yourself how to play the keyboards or how to play a piano. And white buttons were major keys or major chords, and the black buttons were minor chords. And so then you would play a one-note melody in the right hand and push the chord button, and they came with little songbooks. And evidently this was a thing back then. And so somewhere I heard Beethoven. I don't know where I heard it, but the familiar, bum bum ba dum dum da da dum. Bells are ringing, hearts are singing.
Ode to Joy.
Ode to Joy. Thank you. See, you know more classical
They
stuff
should do
than I
like
do.
they should call it Ode to James.
Ode to James. I like that. Anyway, I sat out at the age of 5, and yeah,
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So anyway, and then after I started playing things by ear on that chord organ, Pa looked at Ma and he said, "Reckon we ought to get the boys some piano lessons." And so, is it okay for me to talk like that?
Reckon when, June?
Reckon we ought to get him a piano.
Hey,
We can't afford it, but I
Hey.
guess I can sell the Chevy.
we ought to get Jimmy some. Well, get him a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah. That's good for the voice.
Get our 7-year-old son a pack of cigarettes. And
He's going to play like Jerry Lee.
Well, so this is a funny thing I noticed about. Yeah. Open it. Do it. Oh,
All right,
yeah.
here we
He's
go.
got a Fresca. I already opened mine like a fool. Oh, it's that you even got. I mean, that was a good one. That may be the top one soda opens. What did you? What did you? This is what's going to be so funny. Everyone that's been on here, it's so okay. I've had people that listen that have not come on yet or whatever, or probably aren't going to. By the way, if I don't ask you to be on this, it's probably not going to happen. So we had talked about it.
I pushed. I kept calling you. Come on, be honest. I was going, dude, I got to get in your world.
But I already knew it was going to happen because I knew we're going to sit here and just talk about random stuff for 2 hours, and it'll be like in Billy Madison. That is incorrect. We're actually now all dumber, having heard what you've just said. I award you no points, and may
points.
God have mercy on your soul. But this is what's so funny is I think that friends, I think God just puts you together. But
Yes.
we both laugh at the same stuff.
Yes.
We're both pastors, and we're not talking about a bunch of theology today. Like I do it a couple times on this podcast. We're just talking about fun stuff. Theology is fun too, but anyway, we're both pastors, so we go to the church go to meeting times, and we're laughing about the same stuff. We can't sit next to each other, or we feel like we'll get in trouble. Then we realize maybe we should get them in trouble for getting us in trouble because we're all pastors here. But I don't know. It's just really cool. And what the reason I go on that whole tangent is what you just did. My brothers are gonna die. Like you could literally be in our family. So my brother, he'll do this all the time. He'll go,
Yeah. Yeah. I got my grandkids doing that. My daughter's like, "Thanks, Dad," and it's like,
oh man.
and they'll look at me for approval. They're like, And then they look up at me. I'm like, yeah, good job.
That's exactly what a grandpa's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Now
yeah.
get that 22. Go shoot out there now.
Yeah, let's go.
Go shoot that fence now.
We're going to shoot the little squeaks in the backyard.
Here's a
We call them squeaks because that's the noise they make when you run over them. Sorry.
See, this is what's so funny.
It took a south turn.
When you go like, you'll say things. I've heard you say it in Northern church context. Welcome to the Northern Church of Northerners, where we all speak like this. But you'll say, "Oh, I'm from the South. I'm from the South," and I'm sitting there going, "Yeah, I'm from a dirt road in Montana. We're kind of from the same place."
Yeah,
we have so much in common.
Yeah, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was one of your brothers, and you were talking about Montanans and rural roads, and just and I could identify with it so much. I see happening in Montana a lot of what I saw happening in my home state, in the state of Florida. I grew up in the citrus industry. My father and my uncle were in business, and we were in a very specialized form of nursery growers where we grew what's called root stock. Have I told you this before?
No.
So root stock is the long and the short of it is there are citrus trees that are less susceptible to disease. They have a hardier root system. They have stronger trunk. And the thing about citrus is that you can graft in. There's a spiritual lesson here for those.
I was going to say,
I'm going to get into my pastor voice now.
My grandpa always told me, find you a guy with a strong trunk.
Yeah. That may not
Anyway.
be exactly what he had in mind.
Back to citrus.
But back to citrus before we get into gutter.
Yeah.
But there are places, people think of Florida, they think palm trees, beaches, and Disney, Miami. But there's a rural, or there used to be a rural part of Florida, cattle, tobacco, corn, you name it. Anyway, citrus was what we were into. And so where was I going with that? There was a point to
you
it.
grew up in how
right.
much we have in common just
Right.
growing up in rural, dirt road,
Right.
agrarian.
Right.
And in a lot of ways, yeah, people, it's kind of interesting, like people who own land, or how do I say this? People who think they know people who own land.
Right.
They think that landowners are all rich, or they'll see one farmer who's got 5,000 acres and think all farmers are like that. And like the way we grew up, we had everything we needed. We were not poor, but we were barely middle class if we were. Mm-hmm. I mean, my mom and dad worked really hard so we could just have the basic and sacrifice so we could go to our school and stuff. But anyway, it's not all a bunch of rich. I think people in this valley think if you own land, you're just automatically rich. But there's a lot of people living hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck that do own land.
Right.
And are in agriculture.
And my dad worked his hiney off. And what they don't see, and this is where I was going with it, today there are places that used to be orange groves, and they're now trailer parks, gated communities, quote unquote developed land or area, residential. And when I was a child, that was farmland. There were tomatoes and just you name it. People don't realize it, but there was a lot of stuff growing in Florida. And anyway, and my dad worked his butt off. What people don't see about farmers, they're the ones who are up all night because whether it's a birthing situation with a calf,
yeah, like with cattlemen,
yeah,
for sure, yeah,
or like in our situation in the state of Florida, we had freezes where the temperature would actually get below 32 degrees.
I was just going to ask about that.
Yeah, and so. They're the ones up all night burning these oil fueled ovens, heaters, space heaters, basically, that try to keep the grove at a certain temperature. Well, you got to keep those things. You got to keep your lamp trimmed and burning, so to speak. You can lose your entire crop, And then there was the canker scare, which probably nobody knows. But
was that a disease that the trees got?
Yes. And one of the things about canker, and I'm just hitting the surface here, if my father hears this, he would correct me on everything I'm getting wrong. But canker there's no cure for it. There is a cure, but we're not allowed to use those chemicals in the United States. Brazil can use those
And
chemicals.
we probably get all our oranges from Brazil, don't
Yes.
we?
Yeah. And I challenge you next time you go buy a can of concentrate or even, freshly squeezed juice.
Pure Florida canker.
Right.
Pure Brazilian canker.
Canker. And it'll say, made from oranges from Brazil, Mexico, blah, 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 and other places. And so it devastated the citrus industry in Florida. And so, and I can't prove this, but everybody put your tinfoil hats on.
Oh, we should have got tinfoil hats.
Yeah, we should have. I think it was done deliberately. I think it was imported into Florida on purpose because they knew. And, there's reasons.
Like developers maybe, or people who had a financial interest? Or...
Brazil, I think, did it. I think Brazil did it because they began to dominate the citrus market. And I can't prove it, but that's...
They brought that canker in, and then they started bringing in them Brazilian jiu-jitsu gyms, and that's what it was all about.
That's really what it was. It was all about the jiu-jitsu. But in all seriousness, I can't prove that, but there is a difference in quality. There's stuff that you can buy in your local grocery store, and we would not have put that on the shelf back in the day. Back in the day, yeah.
Jim, this is interesting because we know a lot of the Hollander potato man, and whoa. Yep.
Dude, you should have done that in the
I should
microphone.
have carbonated beverages. I try not to live into the fat guy stereotype, so I try not to fart and burp in front of people too much. Because, of course you do that, you fat guy. Anyway,
Right.
And I try not to wear little coats.
Fat guy in a little coat.
You got it.
Fat
When
guy in a little coat.
When you were talking about how your dad would correct you,
Yeah.
like if my dad heard this, he would correct me. I immediately went, "Wrong son, Dad." Anyway, that's what I thought. But there's potato guys up here, and they'll go to Walmart and they'll see those bags of potatoes you get, and I know a guy. I happen to know a guy who spends most of his time below the lower 48 states.
There it is.
He spends all of his time in the Baja. He's got a silo filled with corn tortillas. Have you ever had scrambled eggs with corn tortillas?
Anyway, so he goes, that's Will Sasso. That's my impression of Will Sasso impersonating Jesse
the Body Ventura. I was the governor of Minnesota. I was the voice of the independents.
Anyway, so this potato farmer guy, he's down in northwest Iowa, which is just horrible place. But anyway, I always like saying that because I went to college there. And this is a place where dreams go to die. Anyway,
Vote for me and all your dreams will come true.
we need to get some Soli Santos,
there you
Holy
go.
Santos to guard the hallways.
Right.
Why'd you shave your... I was hot, and when I realized that my hair was making me hot, so I cut it off. Anyway, so this guy's...
Arabic Mexican. What was
my
that?
hair was hot, so I realized it made me... I cut it off. What are you doing? Anyway, so... I get them confused. So this guy's down in the Walmart down there in Sioux Center, Iowa, and the potatoes were so horrible. This is a Montana potato farmer. He goes up to him and he's like, "You got to take those off the shelf. You're not supposed to store those in the sun like that, and they're green, and those are not fit for human consumption."
Right.
So it's a similar thing,
Yeah.
That's such a farmer thing.
Yep.
I mean, your dad could tell some potato guy that story, and they would be slapping knees and laughing and
Yep.
just throwing their hands up in the air going, "What in the heck is the deal with people?" That's so interesting because just the
and some of my, if anybody from the South hears this, they're probably going to beg to differ.
wrong son, Dad.
They'll say, "Well, bless your heart," but
I was raised Baptist.
well, bless your heart.
No one in the North says that. They're just like, "So do you go to church?" No. Anyway, go ahead.
Right? Yeah.
Not this part of the North.
Everybody in the South goes to church, or they used to. I don't know what it is today.
Air quotes. But
Right.
yeah. Anyway.
So where was I going with that?
You said they would disagree with you potentially on what you're about to say.
Yeah, it is a difference between the working class and the elites. And I know
Yeah.
we probably don't want to get too political here, and I won't. But there's a complete disconnect. And the thing that would identify the northern farmer or cattle rancher with the southern, person doing farming and agriculture, the thing that they would identify on is that the elites have no idea what it is to get their hands dirty, to get in the dirt, and I picked fruit. And there's lots of jokes we could tell about that, but it's dirty work and it's hard work, but it's rewarding
and
it
hot.
And it's hot, but it makes you feel good. I know that, and I look back on
it is
some
rewarding your bare hands.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
And when I was a kid, we just laugh, and you know how it is because your family is the exact same way. The one thing I like about seeing you interact with I see you interact with your brothers. There's a humor that if you're not there, if you're not, doing, if this makes any sense, if you're not doing the work, if you weren't there in the field when such and such a thing happened, you're not going to get the joke, and everything is funny. And they would pay us. We would take 5-gallon buckets and we would fill them up with oranges, and approximately four or 5-gallon buckets would fill up a citrus crate. And so it's basically $1 a crate. And but then they would charge us transportation out to the grove, ladder rental, bucket rental. If we ate lunch out there, they would charge us for lunch. And of course, it's all my dad and my uncle. They'd just start joking and they'd go, by the end of the day, boys, y'all are going to owe us about $35.
Forgot my checkbook. Hope you don't mind the pan change.
Anyway, it's that kind of humor.
But it is totally that, and I think that's what so many farmers have in common.
Yes, that's what it is.
There's just you could just lose everything in an instant.
Right. You
just could.
Yeah.
And that's
you were talking about millionaires.
Yeah.
Guy comes up. We were out somewhere. I don't remember. But anyway, he's driving like this Datsun 4-cylinder, cheap-looking truck. It's rusted out. It's beat all to pieces. Anyway, comes out and has a conversation with my dad, and they're talking and blah, blah, blah. And my dad comes back and he goes, that guy is a multi-millionaire. He's wearing, and he was wearing farmer's clothes, cowboy hat, work boots, driving that rusted out truck. And the point is, if you've got it, you don't have to prove it to anybody. You don't care what people think. And but hardworking people, and I think that's what it is. It doesn't matter north or south or east, west, whatever. There's a caliber of folks who get the job done, and then there's this rich elite group of people that I said I wasn't going to get political, but they have no idea. They're completely out of touch with the working class guy.
Let me just kind of.
Sorry.
No, let me walk back. No, don't be sorry.
Okay.
Let me walk back that whole political thing, because you and I have talked about that, but I'm at the point where, like, if a person, I don't want to talk about, like, I don't want to sit here and talk about whether or not Donald Trump is good.
Right.
Or, that kind of stuff. I think he's a dirtbag. I think that the person before him was a dirtbag. They're just dirtbaggish in different ways.
Right. What kind of dirt do you like?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which foot do you want to shoot yourself in? That's what I always tell people.
Right.
But also, we lean small government. That's no mystery to anyone. Here's what's funny is, like my friend Rob, who was on a couple times ago, he can't stand the cops.
Yeah.
My friend Caleb is totally pro-Israel, pro-Trump. My brother, he's my friend too. He's like my brothers are my best friends. You're one of my best friends, by the way. But like my brother Caleb.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm gonna do my friend Brad Dater. He did the boy.
You got any taters up in there?
He did the boy. You shouldn't have done that.
Shouldn't have done that.
So Caleb is like totally Trump, Republican, but we have the small government thing in common. My friend Rob can't stand the cops, and he's probably somewhat of a libertarian, maybe leaning toward anarchist, but he doesn't even care to be labeled anything. And so in this trajectory of this podcast is you'll have my dad talking about almost dying in a small engine aircraft, and
That was hilarious.
which as an airman, by the way, you could resonate with some of that. But then you'll have my friend Rob talking about how he hates the cops, and next week my friend Mark is coming on, and he's the one who he's really forced me to decide that I'm not gonna bleep stuff, because I said, well, usually I think I would bleep or whatever. And he goes, man, that's going to be really hard for me. And he wasn't being mean about it. And I thought, I'm just going to put a bumper at the front of the episode and just say, if you don't want to hear bad words, just don't listen to this one.
Sure.
This is this guy, and it's how he talks, and it's his story. So I don't want to filter who the people are. And I'm all about conspiracy theories. So for me, there's political discourse, there are conspiracy theories. I know they intersect, but also, I was just talking to one of my friends who was a CIA operative, and he and I we had like a 10, 15 minute, kind of discussion within our friend discussion about nation building and why we don't think America should have how many bases around the world.
Oh, it's ridiculous. And so many of them are left over from World War II. You're never going to meet somebody who's more anti-war than a veteran.
Yeah.
And the reason, again, it comes back to the common worker, the common man, and the elite. And it's like that song, was it Creedence Clearwater Revival?
Yeah.
I ain't no senator's son.
Yep.
It ain't me.
Yep.
And so what that whole thing is about is I'm the one out here dying or spilling blood or watching my buddy get killed or whatever the case might be. And I don't want to make myself out to be something that I wasn't. I was a flight engineer on C-130s. I was not a special ops guy on the front. I wasn't in the Marines, on the front lines actually shooting bullets at people. But I facilitated our role to allow the war fighters to go in. We would prepare the battlefield, as we say.
Yeah.
But you still don't want to see, why are we spending our blood and treasure, the United States, the Americans, why are we even in the Middle East? I fought in the first Gulf War. I was turning wrenches on A-10s. I've been out of the Air Force now for 16 years. We're still in the Middle East. And there's so much money and there's so much blood, and I know we're shouldn't.
No,
I feel the same way about Ukraine.
I'm all for it.
I never thought there would be a day where I would think that the Russians were more Christian than we are, but
at least culturally speaking.
Yeah.
Because maybe not genuine Christians, but
exactly. But at least what few people are paying attention to is the price that the church pays. And of course, now I know we're not going to be theological, but I can't help it. This is who I am. I'm a pastor.
It touches everything. And we're both pastors. We talk about this stuff. And once again, most of the folks that listen to this they're good Christian people, James.
Hallelujah.
But also
we're going to take up an offer now.
It does touch everything.
But it does. Yeah. And I look at the Christians and I go, what is the condition of the church when the war is over? And how many Christians are killed either as collateral damage or on purpose? And we forget there's an enemy. There is a real spiritual enemy who hates every human being on this planet. And I'm not going to preach a sermon, I promise.
Leuven brothers.
But
Satan is real.
He's real. And he hates humanity. You are an image bearer of God, whether you want to believe that or not. That's what I believe. You're an image bearer, and he delights in the destruction of, humanity in general and God's people specifically. And so when you look at places like Ukraine, I want to ask the question, the average American, just guy on the street, can you find the Ukraine on a map? Do you even know where it is? Are you concerned? And again, I'm going to sound like a cold-hearted person.
Well, it's the armchair revolutionary thing.
Right.
I mean, it's been a thing. I mean, I think part of it is even like consumerism. You know, I pick my causes on social media.
Sure.
I have no skin in the game. I'm not going to lose anything. I
Right.
fly a flag. So I'll just say flat out, I don't like Russia, and I don't think I like that Ukraine guy much either. I don't like either of them.
Right.
And so I don't like, we don't,
But like,
yes. Oh, and then people go, "Oh, there are allies. There are allies." Okay, so look, we have been nation building and intervening
Right.
in the affairs of other countries for far too long.
that's my point.
Empire building,
That's my point.
and like read The Revolution by Ron Paul. I just, that's my favorite political book, and he talks about. I was just talking to my friend. This is so ironic. Yesterday, so I've talked to a military guy for the last 2 days. Because it's you and him yesterday, which I like, and we're just talking about that. Like, why? How does it make us safer to have this presence? And again, we could go off on this for forever, but I don't think it makes us safer.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. There's one point that I want to bring out, and I guess after this we can move on to something
We
else.
don't have to.
But when I was in the military, we were indoctrinated, and there were specific things that we actually had to know in order to get promoted. You'd be tested on these things. And I can remember reading, as part of my indoctrination, I guess you could say, the U.S. military is an instrument of foreign policy. And when I read that, it was like, even though I was somewhat idealistic at that time, and there was a certain ideal of America that I thought I was fighting for and thought I was supporting, I can remember how that hit me. And I thought, isn't the military supposed to be here to defend America, not be an instrument of foreign policy? And then it goes on to say that that's going to depend on whatever administration is in power, because we serve at the pleasure of whoever's in charge, because it's a civilian-controlled military, which I agree with, by the way. But what you would hear over and over and over again is American interest. We have an American interest in the Middle East. Well, what is our American interest?
Oil.
There you go. So we're going to fight and get all entangled in these endless wars that go on forever so that we can keep gas prices cheap.
Well, and isn't it funny that, all the conservatives got all hopped up to vote for Trump, and I check my libertarian sources because I feel like they're some of the most neutral, and within weeks and months, he's a neocon. I mean, I have no use for neocons. I have no use for big government Democrats. I have met one of our senators and am a personal fan of him just as a guy, but I mean, they act like politicians, and
Yeah.
and I understand that, they know things we don't know.
Sure.
They've got to deal with things we don't know about, but he campaigned on ending the forever wars and stuff, and
Right.
we're not safer.
Right.
We're not people don't get that. And I think I think the American people we are all kind of dummies. We're pawns. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to be fatalistic, but yeah, go vote, all that stuff. I'm going libertarian next time. I don't even care.
I would say there's two parties, and the parties are the rich and the poor.
Yeah, that seems to be the case.
That's really
And then
ultimately what it comes down to.
Some people say, no, that's not true. But I mean,
It's pretty.
if you've ever picked fruit,
Yeah.
or done some manual labor, or had to wonder where your next meal was coming from, or what, okay, my paycheck's gone before it even hits my bank account, you have a different perspective. And
sure
most
do.
people are poor, and I think that's where a lot of times folks that are in lower socioeconomic brackets, or however you want to put it, are just exploited by, this guy is going to help. And I see Trump supporters that are exploited by the rhetoric.
Sure.
And I see whatever Harris or whomever the next dork on that side is going to be They're
AOC.
exploited.
I'm
Yeah.
going to vote for AOC.
And they're all sick. They're all sick. You know, and that's like, I had a friend one time tell me, and this made me think a lot of, there's this fallacy of saying that the truth is actually between the extremes. And I understand that. But if both sides are wrong, don't tell me I have to pick a side.
Yeah.
You got to pick a side. You've got to stand for something. Well, neither of them are really standing for anything.
Right.
So again, we voted for who we voted for. I have never voted for a Democrat in my life, and I never will. But like, we got really political. But anyway,
I know.
like it. But I don't. I just won't. I just won't do it.
There were like two
But-
things that I promised that myself before we started this. I'm like, we're not going to talk about theology,
But
and
we're not.
and we've touched on it. But I mean,
We're not getting super in the weeds. I
No.
think a lot of it is kind of, I think from the middle, whether that's a fallacy or not, or from 1,000 feet above, you look down and you just see that there's right and wrong on both sides of whatever, what even is the aisle, what a concept. But there's right and wrong.
Sure.
Right and wrong. And right and
That's-
wrong transcends
right.
human classifications. What's the right thing to do? I mean, like we talk about this, you know, look at all the homeless fellas and gals running around Bozeman. And a lot of them, I get, like, if you're in a bad situation, it's your fault. I mean, as a guy who has bipolar disorder, I had to realize that one of the reasons I was struggling is because I was using my diagnosis as an excuse to not be well.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to decide, okay, the skills and the pills. So I've got to take the spills. The skills and the pills, and I got to take the spills, Jimmy. I got to take the spills, Jimmy. But anyway, I got to take the pills, and I got to work on the skills.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone is responsible for their own stuff. But when I look at like these homeless folks, and I think we can't figure out something better. I mean, it's either totally enabling and not fixing anything, or just ignoring and not fixing anything.
Right.
And I know there are ministries and people that get in the weeds, but I don't know. I mean, just what's the right thing to do?
Well, and as Christians, and again, I can't help it. This is who I am. I have been reborn. And so I have a worldview that is shaped by scriptures. So I look at Jesus, and not to sound corny, but what would
he do?
Jesus
what
do?
did he do?
Right.
He looked at him, and remember that rich, dumb, young guy comes up to, what do I got to do to inherit eternal life? And he looked at him and loved him.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean,
And
he's
he's moved with compassion.
But also he talked about hell a ton, which our lily white soy boy lefty Christian friends don't like to mention.
Well, we don't really know if there really is such a thing as hell, and
so we'll go all over here because I mean, look, as if you know me at all, I'm an old school Bible nag. Like, you don't want to talk to me about it if that's not what you want to talk about. Don't bark up this tree.
Right.
Same with James.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are going to talk about this kind of stuff. I kind of just made that a moot thing. I think when I do my solo episodes and I just talk about random stuff, I just don't want to become a spiritual content creator.
Sure.
Because it's just so disingenuous. Like, you'll see
much
like this,
of it is, yes.
like this 19-year-old guy, and he's like, you know, I was reading my scriptures the other day, and I'm like, all right, dude, you go live some life, please.
Or I like the ones who highlight other pastors, so they'll take clips from
like they're
other
reacting to other pastors.
Right.
Go listen to a pastor in your own town. Go outside, nerd. Go on, get. Did you watch Have you watched Righteous Gemstones?
No, I haven't.
It's horrible, but you need to watch
Righteous Gemstones.
Yeah.
All right, I'll add it to the list.
Anyway,
I've heard this phrase, go touch some grass. Meaning, and what they mean by that is get out of the office.
Well, I touch grass every day, bro. I live in Bozeman, man.
It's legal, dude.
Bro.
I was just going down to get some gummies, man. That's so funny.
You ever look at like tree bark?
Yeah.
Yeah, go touch some. Get outside.
Right. That's the point. Is get
outside, nerd.
Get out of your four walls and just there's
Live
a whole
some
world,
life.
Right. Live some life, and then let's talk after you've had some experiences. I really, this is something else that we see in the church is you got to be young, you got to have spiky hair, wear tight jeans or skinny jeans, whatever they call them, and
We don't know what's the style now.
I don't know. I'm
Now
dating-
youth pastors are probably coming up because I'm getting some PTSD because I'm seeing like the baggy pants coming back
Yeah.
again with the young kids.
Yeah.
What? We were getting our pants stuck in our bike chains all the time and slamming them in doors. Like, why are we bringing this back? You can't walk through a mud puddle because your pants just wick the moisture up to
Right.
like a third the way up of your calf.
yes, that's true.
You know, and why? I mean, but yeah, like the point is,
The point is that
Yeah.
I think you need some life experience before you step in the pulpit. Are you timing us? Is that what you're doing?
no, I got a couple texts while we've been on here, and I wanted to look up some song lyrics, and I can't remember what they were. So I'm trying to like, if I look at my phone, I'll remember what they were.
Right.
But anyway,
I understand. I just think my whole point in all of that is get some life experience, and there are people in preaching in pulpits, and it's like they honestly they don't belong there. They do
Well,
not. And you know the
I
first.
probably don't.
No, I wouldn't go that far, Ruben. Well, yeah, you and me both. If you're looking for qualifications, I meet the biblical qualifications, but you know,
Who is sufficient in all these things?
What?
Who is sufficient in all these things?
The Lord Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So no
so-
person. But also, like you said, it's that goes to the reason I said I don't want to do exclusively like we're going to look at this passage today is because I preach a sermon every week and so do you.
Yes.
If I want to hear a sermon, well, I'll just shameless plug right now. James Reads Forge.
Oh, dude,
you
thank
put
you.
all of your sermons up in podcast form.
Yes,
So I don't have to.
that's right. James Reed.
Yeah,
That's REED.
Yes.
I spell it the right way. Apostrophe S. James Reads Forge. FORGE. You know, like
Please
anvil.
email James to you at
Yes.
jty.org.
James to you. Well, I am drinking Fresco, which is John MacArthur's favorite beverage.
It is?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
He
I
was-
love J Mac.
Yeah.
But we've talked about that too.
Yeah. So anyway,
But so this is
but
what
you said great. You know, it's
Yeah.
grace to you, James
to you.
If
I
you'd
know
like
you
to
knew
know
that.
about
if you'd like to hear
Fresca-
more about Saved, Found God's Peace, one step at a time, please email James to you at jty.org. That's
Yes.
not that's not
That's
an
not a real.
email.
It's not a real
Not-
thing.
But it is James Reads Forge, and I'll link to it in the
Oh man,
down in the show notes
that would
because
be great. I'll
folks-
probably increase from like 2 listeners to maybe 10.
if you're looking, and I'm just saying this, I get to brag about my friends and just watch them struggle across the table. But if you're looking for good sermons and
boy.
you're looking for biblical sermons, subscribe to James's podcast because he does a great job.
Wow, thank
Yeah.
you, brother.
You do. I've said it
I
before.
appreciate it.
I don't
I'm
listen
probably
to sermons.
turning red right
But
now.
if I did, I'm actually, it's always on my list. Okay, if I want to hear a sermon, this goes so well. I'm going to listen to my friend.
Thank you.
I don't need to listen to.
Right.
And this ties into a lot. And I'll give you this. There's like this Christian content industrial complex. It's fun to attach industrial complex to everything. You and I don't really like Christian music outside of worship, like music that's intended to be used edifying or what would be the non-church word for that? Encouraging and strengthening
Encouraging.
God's people.
Amen.
In
Yes.
worship. But the music we listen to, we were just, I got to mute the outro music. Look at that. We're going past.
Did we
we're
go
going.
overtime? I'm
We're
sorry.
going. No, we're not
Let's keep-
overtime. We're
let's
not
keep-
overtime. We're going the distance. We're going for speed. We are not all alone, all alone, all alone. There is no time of need.
Need.
Anyway, but there's this kind of it's disingenuous, and I have a lot of friends who do not identify as Christian. And what drives them the nuts, what drives them the nuts more than anything else. Don't you be driving him the nuts, Jimmy. No, so what drives them nuts more
Is
than
that like
anything else?
the YouTube?
That drives me the nuts, man. I'm going to tell you what, you got to check all the internets. But what drives them crazy more than anything else is when we're not genuine.
Right.
We're not genuine. That's why my music is not Christian music, and I'm not in a Christian band. I write some things with some Christian themes in it, but I just want to make good music.
Right.
I already preach sermons. I don't need to preach more sermons on this podcast. Now, for you, you're uploading the sermons that you preach to your church. And so
Yes.
what I'm telling people is if you want to listen to a good sermon,
Thank you.
check out James's podcast. But that's a whole different thing. We're talking about, that's a part of your office as pastor, and you feel a leading to put your sermons up.
Right.
Because it's a smart thing to do.
And all it is, truly, it's like a little bit of intro music, and then the sermon starts and the sermon is over. And I edit them down to try to keep it less than 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And so far I've been able to do that.
How do you record do you just use your phone? Just set it up on the pulpit and
Yep. I use my iPhone.
It's honestly the best way to do it.
And it's surprising how good it is. Now, it's not high quality. I'm not going to say that it is, but I am surprised at the quality that I get out of an iPhone.
Dude.
And
So-
I've found that just, I'm in a small church. I don't have a tech staff that runs, lights and sound, and we don't have smoke
man.
and big drums and lights and everything. And I do want to say something about music, though, because we were talking about that. And of course, my worldview a little bit, but Ephesians chapter 5, I'm sorry. I'm actually...
Worldview, a book on worldview.
Right.
By Albert Mohler. The
I had to-
worldview of worldviews by Worldview. Anyway, go ahead.
By Worldview Publishing.
Worldview Publishing, Grand Rapids, Michigan.
That's a worldview. We could talk about that for a long time.
By Cramptervin Publishing. Cramplin and Miller's.
Ephesians chapter 5, and actually I said I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Ephesians chapter 5, it tells us that we are to, and I think this is verses 18 through 20, that we are to
Look it up.
we are to greet one another, and we are to sing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs, and that we are to praise God. And I am to encourage you in that, and you are to encourage me in that. Christian music is for the purposes of reinforcing and proclaiming the truth. So when we sing in church, and I wonder how many Christians even realize this. When we sing in church, I am proclaiming the gospel to you or another doctrinal truth, and you're proclaiming it back to me, and we are affirming one another, and we are praising God.
Ephesians 5:19, and by the way, as
What
I
does it
just
say?
glance, addressing one another in psalms, hymns, and
There you go.
spiritual
Yep.
songs, singing and making melody to the Lord with your heart.
That's right.
So I mean,
Yep.
we believe all life is worship as a Christian.
Yep.
But there's dedicated worship.
Right.
There's worship in the assembly of God's people, which we call the church, the body of Christ.
Right.
And so it's different. And I guess my point is, we're not necessarily spiritual content creators. You're a preacher who preaches sermons and uploads sermons. If I had the wherewithal, I'd probably upload sermons too, but I get so nervous before. And there are those things too, like people don't understand. We're both in very small churches. We had 60, one of my guys counted, we had 60 people on Easter. I lost my voice. I couldn't preach, which was awesome because the Lord was like, shut your mouth, buddy. You need to be quiet.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. But
Even
anyway,
the preacher gets
shut
put down.
your
Yep.
mouth.
Amen.
You're on the bench. But anyway, one of my guys texted me and said, yeah, we had a big church service. It was 60 people. And
I had 35.
we're in small churches.
Right. Amen.
And we don't do this. We don't do our job because we want followers or we want notoriety. Those are pitfalls that pastors can get into. Those are temptations. You want to look at things humanly, and we had this many people or that many people, but we do this because we believe we have to. We believe we've been called to do this.
Right.
We're not spiritual content creators. We're guys who've been called in spite of ourselves to do what we're doing.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think as men in particular, we have an unhealthy fixation on our career, because when people ask you about yourself, the first thing you say, even before whether you're married or what your family is, you say, here's my job. Here's the thing I do. But, we have been called to do what we're doing. And man, I'm so grateful. Like after we go off the air, I'm going to tell you a story as to why I felt like the Lord continues to recall me to my church. But we love our little churches, and we don't have a person for that. Well, we do, but they're all volunteers that are extremely busy and have to do 4 things at once.
Yeah.
And so I think that just kind of gets to the genuine part of, like if you would come into one of our churches, you would know that it's fine. You would know that it's not high production value. There's not I don't know how you'd put it. There are no smoke and mirrors. There's no laser show. We don't have like a 5-piece band.
I do
Yeah.
about the most advanced thing we do. I do PowerPoint slides, and I would not even do those except that there are people in our congregation who take notes, and they say that the slides help them stay on track. So I do that as a service to them, but we have none of that. And I was in Calvary Chapel, and I'm not going to be negative toward my brothers because there are good people in that movement, but we were all about keeping it current, keeping it trendy. If I was doing a worship song from 5 years ago, I'm non-current, and some of these songs, again, they don't do those things that we were just mentioning.
Yeah, it's not from Scripture.
Right.
It's not from the Book of Psalms, which, by the
Right.
way, it's not really the Book of Psalms. It's a collection of psalms, which are
right.
songs.
Right.
And it's a song book of the Bible.
That's what it is. Amen. So all that just to say, I've done that. I really thought I was playing rock star because at one point my face was up on this flat screen and they would pan with the cameras and you could see every member of the band. And if there was a guitar solo or something, they'd focus in on him. And for me, and the Holy Spirit has been very gracious to me and merciful, like you were saying, in spite of myself. But I began to see you just don't need all of that. And this is not the purpose of that.
No.
And so if I want to do that, then if I'm going to listen to something that's rocking, I'm going to listen to rock and roll. I'm going to listen to the real thing.
And
I don't want the disingenuine stuff you're talking about. And a lot of Christians don't even realize this, but the stuff that you're listening to and you call it Christian music, the publishing company and the record label are owned, and this is a whole other thing.
Yeah, they're squeezing evangelicals.
Yeah,
so-called evangelicals.
Right. They could care less
for money.
Right. They could care less what you believe. They don't. And they're owned by secular record labels, and they honestly don't care who you worship or what you worship or if you worship or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a niche market, and they sell to you, and you're You are a consumer. You are consuming, and so for me,
It reminds me of They Live. Roddy Piper, rest in peace.
yeah.
Rest in peace.
That said, I do want to talk about keyboards. Can we talk about keyboards? Because we started there and then we went. And how are we doing on time?
I don't care.
Okay, cool. This could be a 3-hour long. No, it's not going to be 3 hours.
It could be.
We'll just edit it.
I'm not editing anything.
So, all right. Okay. So here we go. I want to tell this story because it's really, really cool. The reason that I started playing piano was because I wanted to be Jerry Lee Lewis. I wanted to be him. And my dad had Johnny Cash album, Live at Folsom Prison. That's one of the first songs. I won't say it was the first.
That's the gospel right there.
That's one of the first songs that I learned on guitar. Ding, 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 ding.
Yep.
And see, kids.
Now we're copyright flagged. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm kidding.
The kids, listen up. There was a day whenever things were on vinyl. Vinyl was basically plastic, and you had this thing called a turntable, and you had to put the needle on it. And I would sit there and listen to that intro, do, and I get like a couple of notes, and then I'd have to pick up the needle and put it back and listen, and then and I'm watching other guitar players trying to figure out what they're doing. But there's no YouTube, there's no tutorial.
I'm so glad I got to grow up in that era myself.
Yeah,
because
it
just forced you to be so resourceful.
There was a guitar out in the Florida room. That's what we call a family room. It's a Florida room, and there was a like a trifold thing that would fold out, and they had black and white photographs of a man's hand on the guitar. And so they would show you how to hold the chord, and then they had the frets with the dots to show you where the fingers go. And I would sit there and strum and figure it out. And what I do know of the guitar, I taught myself the guitar. But where I was going with that is Jerry Lee Lewis albums. And of course, man, he's beating the tarnation out of that piano, and boogie woogie left hand, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I used to sit at the coffee table and I'd pound the coffee table and be like, I'm Jerry Lee Lewis, And so going forward in time, these classic rock bands became very popular and got a lot of radio play. And in the 1980s, I'm dating myself, but the new wave comes in. And keyboards are the thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's got keyboards. Even the rockers are using keyboards.
Well, and there were some pretty killer keyboard players in the 60s and 70s.
There
like
were.
in rock bands.
Oh, yeah.
But,
And I think of, it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna give names, but
you can if you want.
I don't know many names. I just know the sounds. But like I heard Booker T and the MGs. Green Onions. Yep. I love that song. And it's all organ.
Yeah, it's so good. It's really good.
It's a fat Hammond B3.
There's a little bit of electric in there.
Yeah. Well,
like some upstrokes here and there.
And they do solos. There's a whole section where the guitar takes a solo and then they pass it back. And the recording I had, you could hear them in the studio yell at each other.
Yeah.
They'd go like, yeah, like when they're done to yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let the other guy know it's your turn.
Well, and then too, like the microphones, the whole room is basically mic'd.
Right. They're playing live to tape.
Yeah.
They've got maybe a 4-track.
I wish there was. I'm sure it is insanely expensive. I would love nothing more than to be able to record to tape. And guys who have done it say you don't want to do it. It's so annoying. I mean, for this it would be not practical, but for music, I think it would be so fun.
Well,
anyway,
what is fun is when you do that in rehearsal and somebody says, "I didn't do that," and you go, "Well, let's just play the tape."
Yeah.
So, are you the bass player or are you the drummer or whatever it is? Because that's what the tape did. So either you did it or either you're wrong or the tape's wrong.
Well, and you do have that with digital recording.
Right. I'm saying tape. Today you would do it. You do it on your phone.
I like to like when I record, I like to pretend like it's tape and not either I have to redo the whole track or not, but sometimes I will cheat and punch in. We don't want to get in the weeds there.
Right.
So the 80s come up. There's keyboards all over the place.
Right.
I have seen the Mothership, James.
Yes.
Where you have all the synths set up.
When you said Mothership, I wasn't
pretty
sure.
awesome.
And the thing is I'm not current. The keyboards I have are yesterday's news. I mean,
but
they are vintage synthesizers.
But probably now they'd be desirable because all this stuff comes.
It does. And
full circle.
What I'm surprised about is I can go on the internet or interweb.
Find us at www.theinternet.com.
And anyway, there's a market for these because so many of these keyboards are not they're not made anymore. And so if you need parts, you have one that is the one you're cannibalizing off of. And to keep the one your gigging keyboard, you're keeping that one going by taking parts off the other one if you need them. And so there's a market for these things, and there's a retro, like I was listening last night to retro wave, what they're calling retro wave. It's synthesizers from the 1980s, and it's okay. I mean, I know the difference because I know when I'm listening to something off of a laptop versus somebody actually sitting there with an analog synthesizer doing it.
Yeah.
But still, it's still good.
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, a friend of mine had a Roland Juno 6, not a 60, a Juno 6. And I was knocked out by that thing. Just couldn't believe it. Had an arpeggiator on it.
Oh, cool. So that's when you hit one note and it plays chords.
And you can hold a series of notes and
Yeah.
And so, and you can set the tempo for that, and if you want triplets or whatever. And so, anyway, all that just to say, I fell in love with keyboards, and I wanted to be a rock star. Reminds me of a song.
Yep.
I'm tired of standing in line for a club I'll never get in. It's like the bottom of the ninth, and I'm never going to win.
I just I got a lot of white guy amens out of me just there.
Yeah. And I know people are going to hate Nickelback, but that's, whatever. It's a good song.
It's weird because now Nickelback has come full circle, and like I'm friends with a couple guys. Well, I mean, I don't know if I'm friends with them or not, but
You know these guys.
we played a show together, and they're playing Nickelback and Creed unironically, and they're 20-something-year-old guys, which is just funny. That's another thing. But anyway, like as far as us, like we love music and we like all kinds of music. There was this, there's this ministry, and I kind of
the band Ministry.
nice. No,
Exactly.
but
Not.
but I like that reference. But they, I'm not going to name them because I just don't want to do it. But they're poking holes in all the secular music and how everything's from the devil and all that. And I just don't. We're not that brand of Christian.
I think that what can happen is certainly, it's like when people talk about conspiracy. All it takes to have a conspiracy is two people agree and they have a certain outcome that they want to see happen. There's your conspiracy. So I do think that it is possible that there are true bands who may be
In league with the bad guy.
in league with the devil, but the
Like
vast,
formally.
right, and they'll declare that or whatever. But the vast majority of music, it's guys getting together who want to make some songs, man.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not. Don't overcomplicate it.
If you were aware truly of musicians' lack of ability to plan anything,
They can't even get to the gig on time. I love
That's
it.
one of
It's
my
like,
favorite
when you
jokes.
When you guys get on, we're starting at 9. Cool. 10:45.
Yeah. One of my
we blew up the PA system. Sorry, guys.
favorite jokes, and I know you've heard this one before, but what was the last thing the drummer said before he got kicked out of the band? You know it, right?
You told me. I don't remember.
Hey guys, I got this new song idea. I love that one so much.
You know what they call somebody who likes to hang out with musicians? The drummer. Kadoosh.
I don't have I'm trying to make my own.
I like that though. Hey
My own
guys, I got
sound
a
of-
song idea.
my own sound. Well, like if you listen to Beatles albums, it's like, here's the Ringo song. Some of them are actually pretty good, honestly, but it's just kind of funny because they're like, we got to keep him happy. Let's let him do one. But yeah, I mean, we like regular music, and we like sacred, and I guess you'd call it sacred and secular, though we don't necessarily believe in that delineation because we think that everything is God's.
Yeah.
And, I mean, as in everything belongs to God.
Right.
Everything is His.
Everything belongs to him. And I would say this, I knew someone talking about things being disingenuous. I knew someone, and they absolutely refused, quote unquote, refused to listen to secular music. And so I asked the person, true story, what about Happy Birthday? Do you sing Happy Birthday? Happy birthday to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's not Christian. There's not one mention of God in there. Nothing holy. It's happy birthday to you. Well, yeah, but now you're being ridiculous. No,
You're being ridiculous.
I'm not. Exactly. I'm not because you just made a blanket rule, and all I'm doing is qualifying what that includes. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. You can't sing that to your, kindergartner.
Well, that's from a different time.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
So
and again,
there you go.
We that's just where we're at.
Yes.
I understand. I mean, I understand. I've got some good friends that are in Christian bands and really good Christian bands,
Sure.
and I love them, and they're very gifted musicians. It's just I don't feel that like I want to. I like their music, but it's not my scene. I spend a lot of time in a church with church people, so when I'm playing music, I want to play with regular bands, with unbelievers, with and I don't even know if I even like the term unbeliever, with non-Christians or whatever. I mean, I don't need to be around people that believe all my same stuff.
Right.
And I don't know. Anyway, I don't think we're even supposed to do that. You got to spend time with other. If like you're a Christian, you need to be encouraged. You need to be in a church. You need to spend time with other Christians. But I think a lot of us don't go out and rub elbows with people who disagree with us or have a different way of looking at the world. But anyway, yeah,
We are all sinners,
yeah,
and I have started using the term a repentant sinner and an unrepentant sinner. That's it. The only difference between me and that other person is God's grace. Period. That's it. That's all.
that's why I always hope
I'm a sinner. I just am a sinner saved by grace.
the people that
Saved by grace.
people that I know, yeah, that don't know Jesus, I just pray. I was recently really convicted that I don't pray enough. Well, do you ever listen to Sean Ryan's podcast?
I do.
Strobel and that other fellow were on there, and
Yeah.
they're talking about I missed this for 20 years. I can pray for the Lord to send His angels to protect me. Why am I missing this? Because He does, and it is biblical.
Absolutely.
When
it
you
is.
like
Yep.
you look at that story of it's Elisha's ministry, right? And there's a young guy with them, and they're surrounded by the bad guys, and the young guy's freaking out, and he's like, "All right, Lord, open this kid's eyes."
Yes, Elijah.
It's Elijah.
and Elisha.
All right, let me look.
And check me on that, because I always get my Elisha and Elijah mixed, but they are right next to each other. And the younger watches the older be carried off in a chariot.
Yeah, that's Elijah's departure.
Right. So it
But-
is Elijah first, and
but
then Elisha.
The story I'm talking about
That's
is
not Elijah?
their- I think it might have been Elisha's ministry.
Or was it?
They're surrounded
yeah.
by, they're surrounded by the bad guys. All right, here it is. It's in 2 Kings 6:20. It's Elisha. Soon they entered Samaria. Elisha said, "O Lord, open the eyes of these men that they may see." So the Lord opened their eyes and saw, behold, they were in the midst of Samaria. Soon the king of Israel saw them. He said to Elijah, "My father, shall I strike them?" Nope, wrong. I'm wrong. That's not the right story. Here it is. This a little bit earlier in 2 Kings 6. So they're surrounded by the bad guys. The servant of the man of God rose early in the morning. The 2 Kings 6:15. We're getting real Bible-y here. If you're an atheist, you might want to press pause. Went down, behold, an army with horses and chariots was all around the city. And the servant said, "Alas, my master, what shall we do?" He said, "Do not be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them."
Right.
Then Elisha prayed and said, "O Lord, please open his eyes that he may see." So the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire around Elisha.
Elisha.
So,
Yeah.
point being, biblically, God will send angels to protect you. Like He protects you, His Holy Spirit lives in you, but He also has legions of angels. So I was just in listening to that podcast. I'm like, I go, oh, cool. So every night I almost get to tears praying that the Lord will protect my little girl.
Amen. Yes.
And I realize there could be angels right there, right here. I was thinking about so much of that stuff that, okay, I've just got to be more active in prayer. That's what that podcast brought up. And so, yeah, we got a little theological, little faithological, but that's great, man.
It's who we are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as much as a part of who I am as the music that I listen
Yep.
to. And and I'll say this about music and then we can leave it alone, but, or we can keep talking about it, whatever you want to do. It's your show. And I'm loving doing this.
Mr. Show.
I love this. Is that Mr. Show or I missed your show? Anyway, it is, there are things that I can listen to that are certainly more edifying.
There's stuff I listen to that if I listen to certain genres of aggressive music
Sure.
for extended periods of time, I get depressed and I've got to take a break.
Right. I see, and I feel that way about country and Western, both kinds of music.
Easy, yeah.
Country and Western.
It's super depressing.
Oh, man.
Especially the old school
There,
stuff.
there was this song, and it's probably, and again, I'm so non-current. I am so not cool. I don't know what's trending, but I heard this song, and it's called "You Can Let Go Now, Daddy."
Ew.
Oh my goodness!
That's more like emotional.
Oh, but it's country.
Yeah.
And so it's a story, you know, it's a woman singing it, and she's the first verse is he's running down the sidewalk with her, teaching her how to ride a bicycle without training wheels.
Yep.
And she says, "You can let go, Daddy." And then she gets married. She turns to
Oh,
him.
man.
Yeah, she turns to him at the wedding ceremony. She says, "You can let go now, Daddy." Third verse, he's in his deathbed.
Oh,
He's dying.
I'm gonna cry.
I know. I'm getting choked up right now. So yeah,
That's good sad though.
yeah, kind of. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean that's why people love country and western music so much is
But
these stories that they tell.
Yeah.
And again, getting back to the whole real man, real life, blue collar worker, guy who's down in the ditch making it happen. That's why country and western is so popular. Is these are real life, true stories.
And in some cases, teams of songwriters have realized that.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
And exploit
Yeah.
the heck out of that.
Yeah, and going back to Nickelback, I'm going to have washed up singers writing all my songs. So, yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny because everyone, Nickelback's been a big joke for all these people, and I'm not a fan directly myself, but they sell lots of records and they play lots of shows and they're making money doing music.
There you go.
So,
There you go. And is it packaged? Is it overproduced? Is it catering to a certain demographic? Absolutely, it is. That's just called business. And I remember hearing a story, and I don't know if it was, again, I'm going to date myself. I don't know if it was Johnny Cash or Bob Seger. It was one of those guys.
was he running against the wind?
Running against the wind, yes. Anyway, or maybe it was Joe Walsh. It was somebody out of that era, and they were listening to a song on the radio, and they were mocking it. They're like, "Oh, that's whatever. That's bubblegum. That's overproduced. That's whatever." And the other guy looks at him and says, "They're on the radio right now, and we're not.
Yeah.
So if you want to," and people can say, "Oh, you sold out." Well,
I'm a sellout.
Everybody's got a price.
Well, so here's what's so funny is I've turned down gigs with punk rock bands because I've got, like, if you look up at the whiteboard, those are all the dates I'm playing this summer.
Oh, wow.
And they're all paying pretty good. So I'm a sellout. Most of that's at the Cowboy Lodge and Grill down in Gardner, Montana. But like that's
plug.
But the cool thing is I don't play anything I don't want to play.
Sure.
And I had a really sweet gal. It was the mother of the bride for this private party that I played up in Large Cloud, Big Sky. And she wanted me to learn "You're Still the One" by Shania Twain. And I'm like, boy, I don't know. I see you roll your eyes, which I did too a little bit. And then I listened to it and I started to weep because it made me think about my wife.
Absolutely.
And so I'm like, okay, I can put this in a key where it works for my voice and I'll sing this song for those people. And I don't think that to me is not selling out because I found meaning in this song and I got to help them have a good time. I got to make
absolutely
a high time in their life, maybe a little bit better.
Can I tell you a story about this? True story about that song. First time I heard it, I'm in Florida on vacation. I hear this song and I'm like, I get choked up, get a lump in my throat. I don't know. I didn't really cry. I would say
cry.
I had something in my eyes. Anyway, I went to the store and bought the CD.
It's a CD player. It plays CDs.
Right. That stands for compact disc.
Yeah.
After vinyl, after tape came the CD. And that was amazing. Anyway.
Tapes were my favorite medium, by the way. But keep going.
And I went to Tracy. I said, you got to hear the song. I said, this song is you and me. You got to hear this. And I bought the whole CD for that one song for my wife and gave it to her as a present. I was like, you got to hear this. And so, I mean, is that, was Shania Twain selling out? Mutt Lange produced her, by the way.
Didn't he also produce AC/DC?
AC/DC, Foreigner, Def Leppard. So anyway, they go where the money is.
So it's all subjective.
Yeah, it is.
To me, I think
it really is.
If an artist is being true to who they are and is like, to me, if I can sing a song and I can mean something when I'm singing it, are you taking a break for your butt?
No, I was trying not to kick that
Oh, this thing? I'll
because
move
I
it.
didn't want to make a noise in the microphone.
We'll wrap up in a couple minutes. But yeah, I think
Dude, I'm loving this.
Yeah.
I could do this all day.
I
but
could too. I really could. I think just as long as the person is being genuine. I mean,
Right.
because you can kind of tell. So I've got a fun idea for a segment when Josh comes back. I'm gonna have it be Josh reacts to celebrity plastic surgeries. Because I found a YouTube account
Do it.
and it's befores and afters, and it's just going to be fantastic.
Oh.
But anyway, yeah, man. Well, I think we're kind of like we've talked about some tunes. We've talked
Sure.
about a few conspiracy theories.
And that plastic surgery stuff, I'm sorry. I know
It's
you're
so bad.
You're trying to wrap up, but
I'm not. I mean,
Here's the
I'm not
thing.
trying really hard. I could just hit the space bar and we'd be done.
Yeah, let me keep talking.
Well,
he thinks he's on.
don't make me do it.
Just let him do it.
Nobody move or James gets it. Anyway, you know what that one's from?
Yes, I do.
All right.
I know exactly what that's from.
But we won't take the Irish.
So,
Anyway,
so here's the thing. They always end up looking worse.
yeah.
Every time they end up looking
Stinking
worse.
Kenny Rogers, man. Just basically stretched his own face off his skull.
It's just, and Meg Ryan,
Oh,
beautiful face.
Just
and,
let yourself age.
yeah, and now you look at it, it's like, and it's I just take Saran wrap and like press your face in the Saran wrap.
Yeah, I mean it is so. It's okay. It's fine.
Yes,
It's ASMR.
I know. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
Welcome to the Rubecast. Isn't it weird that a microphone will? Okay, I'm gonna poop my pants. Don't do that.
So I'm like, I watched one of those for like I couldn't take it. I was like, you have got to be
It's just
kidding me.
it's so discouraging.
It's like this is what we've come to.
Well,
Now I did hear one that was really cool.
This is going to be this. I think the topic is picked up. This is going to be after we complete this thread. Then we're gonna peace out. But this, I think we're gonna set the land speed record.
Yeah, here we go.
So it's good. No, not land speed record, but we're gonna set the length record today, James. You're gonna crush it. Anyway, so you heard one plastic surgery. We're gonna do this.
No, well, I heard that an ASMR that was actually really good, and I don't know how I found it. I was doom scrolling one night or something. Anyway, this it's an Italian barbershop.
Oh,
And so you hear the guy like start over here and then move around to the back of your head, and he's cutting.
Oh, man.
And it's you hear the scissors.
Yeah.
And he's talking to you. You're gonna look so handsome and everything, and it's moving around, and you get zzz, and it moves around. And I thought that was cool. Now,
let's go back to plastic surgery.
yeah, plastic surgery.
So this is to me it's an interesting experiment that they're inflicting upon themselves. Is it that they are in such an echo chamber as a celebrity? They have so many yes men and yes women around them that they convince themselves that this is a good idea to keep cutting my face up and stretching it tighter. Do you remember Amanda Bynes? Is it Amanda Bynes? She was like a Nickelodeon kid star. I bet you I can find a picture of her. But she was just this cute little gal. And she was like...
Is she the one where it had the bad... It went sideways, or it didn't take, or something bad happened?
Yeah, and it just... Okay, so you probably recognize her. I'll show you a picture. That's her. Do you remember her at all?
Yep.
She was in some movies and stuff, and probably some of your kids, but just a cute little gal.
I know. She went from that
And
to...
she like...
Oh.
I mean, I just feel bad for her. Why did you think...
Wow.
Or maybe it was, I don't know what happened, but they mess with their faces like Ariana Grande.
I know.
And she was, I don't know, that was never something that I was thinking, great, but you look at her and you think, I just feel bad for him. What is going on?
I think you nailed it. There's an echo chamber. They're surrounded, and that whole industry is how you look. I mean, it's superficial. I mean, it is just so superficial. It is the peak of self-interest, self-worship, self-promotions. The astronaut thing. Sorry.
Yes.
Katy Perry.
Hey, it's current events. It's current events.
you've seen the rocket that they
You have heard it said. The rocket looked like a something.
It looked exactly like that, and I only know that because that's what people tell me. And no, just kidding.
This is what I'm told. I'm too holy to know what that looks
right,
like.
exactly. Speaking of being disingenuous, but the thing is, with all of that, it's like they are so wrapped up in self, they cannot even see how ridiculous they look. And so I think it, and what are they doing? They are selling themselves. And
Yeah.
And so if your product is you, then you have to look a certain way. So
Keep talking because I
Okay.
got to get something in a minute.
okay. I thought we were wrapping up.
Nope.
Ruben, he's
Not yet. We will.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, he's walking away from the microphone. This is a new Ruben, something that we haven't seen before. He is grabbing something from the bookshelf. He's back.
James, you have officially passed the length record for
sorry.
the Rubecast.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's a celebration. It's a celebration. You've done it.
Please,
Yay!
please. Thank you. Oh,
Nice
you're,
job.
You're embarrassing me. Oh,
This was
please.
what that is also going to be is the trigger bell for next time Caleb's on.
When he gets triggered, yeah.
He called Israel the Gaza Glass Factory, the Gaza Glass Company.
I'm surprised. I need to talk to him about his love for Israel.
You should.
I need to, and there's
and he'll hear you.
And that's another thing about Christians. There is this misconception that they are our friends. Now I'm really going to get into it.
Oh boy, get on the 10 full hats now.
But
You're going to make we'll make absolutely everyone mad. Okay, go.
Okay, this will make everyone in the audience mad. This idea that this nation state of Israel, which is a collection of people who are rebelling against their king. Trigger alert. But this idea that somehow Christians can never say anything wrong or anything is wrong.
A secular nation.
Right.
A secular nation.
Right. Absolutely. Like somehow.
Very, very not fans of God for the most part.
And I say things like.
Just like America.
I say things like, do you realize that Paul calls the church the Lord's Israel?
Oh boy! Now you're gonna.
And they go. What? Now you're
watch
triggered.
out, dispensationalists!
I know. Yeah. And people go.
I better stop. Val's gonna come down here and wing a frying pan at my head.
They go. Oh, where are you getting that from, James? Galatians. That's where I'm getting it from. I'm getting it from the Apostle Paul.
To the Bible.
The Bible. And notice I didn't do any kind of fancy word tricks, and I didn't pull a scripture from left over here to make it fit on the right over here. It's just, I just read it, and Paul says, if you are in Christ, you are a child of Abraham.
How do we get? Oh yeah, because of the Gaza Glass Factory.
Yeah, and I'm just like, so, and then you hear a pastor say, I'm going to support Israel no matter what.
You and my friend Lincoln need to get together.
And I'm like, no matter what? Do you support them when Israeli citizens spit on Christian missionaries? Do you support them then? Because I don't.
And that happens.
And that does happen. And yep. I've seen it on the YouTube.
I'm going to tell you what, Phyllis, I've seen it on the YouTube.
I saw it on the YouTube.
I've seen it on there.
It must be true. They wouldn't put that on there if it wasn't true. That's kind of how I feel. I went down for jury duty, and I said, I don't understand why they wouldn't pick me. I said he wouldn't be here if he wasn't guilty.
That's absolutely
anyway,
right,
they sent me home after that. I said, hang him. Anyway, all right, it's time. It's
light trigger alert. That was just a light trigger alert.
Oh goodness.
Anyway,
but yeah, there it is. It's
we've done it.
Yeah,
we've done it all.
Yeah, we touched everything.
Well,
if you're not offended by the end of this one,
we're
I don't
sorry.
know. I don't know what it
that
takes.
You're not offended because you
we
should
hit
be.
Everything.
No, but anyway, I do want to say, and James, there's a couple things. Well, multiple. There's a lot of stuff. And a lot of stuff.
It's
Here's
huge.
a guy.
It's huge.
Very huge. It's been very big. A lot of people said this was going to be a bad podcast. It wasn't me. I would not say that, but a lot of people did. But it's been good. No, but anyway, what I'm grateful for, A, is your friendship because you are one of my best friends in the world.
Thank you, man.
B, you have caused me to reconsider even more talking about theology on this podcast because I'm just realizing what a huge part it is of our lives.
Yeah.
Because theology is the study of God. Biblical theology is the study of the God of the Bible and his story.
Right.
And his relationship with his people throughout human history and his presiding over the events of, we could go and go, but I mean, so it is, I think it is good to talk about. And I think people that listen to this will appreciate it. And so that was B, is that reconsidering the theological element of it. And C, it's so fun to just be able to go all over the place.
Yeah, it is.
And I think more of us need to exist where, everyone should be more like us, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
No, but this,
Yes.
I guess it may be a challenge.
What a beautiful, beautiful world.
A challenge to our Christian friends to not just believe stuff because you heard it on TV or that's the majority opinion of, well, we all hold this framework of the end times or this framework of what our relationship is supposed to be with this or that nation. And if you're not a Christian, maybe be open-minded to something that a Christian would say to you, because we're not all completely dumb. I mean, I am, but I can't speak for you.
Honestly, one of the things that I try to do at my church is I want to encourage Christians that just because you believe in Christ, it does not mean that you're an idiot, that you're stupid, that you have not thought through many different topics.
I'm not very smart.
You're brilliant, Reuben. You're creative. Stop it. Oh no. Hey,
Anyway,
have some Diet Coke.
No, yeah, it's gone. That's my problem. But man, I just want to say thank you. Thanks for being on. And again, folks, check out James Reed, JamesReed '.
That's right.
Forge. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I know
Yes.
those two.
Yes.
So I'll link it in the show notes, the show description. James, thanks for being on.
Thank
if
you.
you're out in the Helena area and you're looking for a church that is awesome and a pastor who knows how to preach,
Thank you.
go to Green Meadow, because James we need to do a pulpit swap sometime too.
Yes, we do.
But anyway,
We've been talking about it for 2 years.
yeah, oh, goodness. This has been the Rubecast. James, thanks for being on. And folks, we appreciate you listening to every single minute you listen. I'm beyond grateful for the amount of people that have listened and sent me notes and commented.
It's a good show.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks, man. Thank you for listening. And
Thank you.
thanks for joining us, folks. Have a great weekend, whatever. I guess it's the weekend now. So blessings to you all.